Hi everyone, it's Kim, and I wanted to talk to you today about developing a close relationship with your crystals. You know, we buy our crystals, well, we adopt the crystals when you get them from me, we call it adoption. And we bring home our crystals, and it's really important to establish a relationship, to have a connection with your crystals. We don't want to make our crystals be slaves to us. They are energy, and according to Tesla, they are alive. And so we want to establish a relationship. If we want to have them work with us, then we need to get to know them as well. Okay, so you can't just get a crystal, bring it home, and just slap it on the third eye, or just throw it in your purse or stick it in your bra and expect miracles. You need to get to know your crystal first, and I think it's really important. Of course, you can put it on your pillow, you can put it in your bra, in your pocket, and in your mojo bags and things like that. Yes, you can certainly do that, but you really get to know your crystal when you establish a connection and a relationship with your crystal. So I'm going to give you some tips. That's what this video is all about, getting to know your crystal. All right, so the first thing you want to do when you bring your crystal home is, of course, retune it or cleanse it, or however it is you do. Do you do sage? Do you use sound? How do you take care of making sure that your crystal is nice and ready for you to work with? I have a whole video about that. I'll put the link below if you want to check that out. Now, you also want to inspect your crystal. I wish I had a magnifying glass for the video. But you want to look at your crystal with a magnifying glass, a jeweler's loupe, even better if you have one, and really look at it. Look at, here's an optical calcite, Iceland spar. Really look at it. Look at all the little nooks and crannies, and are there rainbows inside? Do you see any record keepers or any special features, any inclusions? Does it look like there's any scratches? Really look at it under different lighting. Bring it outside, bring it in different parts of your home, look at it with different lights. Really inspect it and really get to know what it looks like. Okay, because that's important to note too, because I just did a video about what happens when your crystal breaks or cracks. Well, sometimes it already has breaks and cracks and stuff already that you just didn't see. All right, so you want to really look at it and get to know it physically. Okay, and I think that's really important. We don't tend to do that too much. We go, ooh, pretty, and then we just stick it in our bra or on our third eye, and off we go. Okay, and that's typically what happens. Come on, admit it. I do the same thing sometimes too, but not so much. I'm really good at inspecting my new babies and getting to know them. So how they feel, how do they smell, and all that kind of thing. Take your time getting to know the physical aspects of your crystal. Also, go to mindat.com, link below, and look up the physical characteristics or the physical properties of your crystal. Get to know the hardness, the chemical composition, what its streak is, what its luster is. Get to know all the different kinds of physical properties of your crystal. You really want to know all that kind of stuff. Where does it come from and all that. Okay, get to know its history a little bit. What happens when it breaks? How does it break? Does it break into a cube or into points? How does it tend to, do that? Or in conchoidal shape. So get to know the physical aspect of your crystal. Okay. If you don't know much about the metaphysical or healing aspect of your crystal, then don't do any further research, because you really want to get to know that for you, because it's very different for everybody. Okay. I think that's a really important thing to mention. Crystals are very different across the board. So look at it in different lighting and take it in different places of your house and look at it with a magnifying glass. You'd be surprised at what you find when you do that. Also, and I know this sounds so corny, but I know you guys do it, and so I'm going to confess. I'm going to say it right here, right now, on YouTube for all to see. I talk to my crystals. Yes, I do. Okay, call me nuts, put me in a special psychiatric institution, which somebody had commented on one of my videos. Thank you very much. I'm so glad that you want to have me put in a special psychiatric institution. Not just a regular one, but a special one. As long as it's made of crystal, I am so there. Anywho, so you want to make sure that if you don't know anything about your crystal, then don't research it. Start talking to it. Hey, how are you today? No, seriously. I know it sounds really weird. Now, check out my other video on receiving, which is your receiving hand. You want to have your crystal in your receiving hand, all right, so that you can get to feel it and meditate with it. Try to use your receiving hand more often. You can hold it in your receiving hand and talk to it. You know, thank you for coming into my life. You're beautiful. You bring a lot of joy to my life. You know, you're sparkly goodness, crystallicious. And I know it sounds really corny, but ask it, you know, do you have a message for me? Is there anything that you think that I should know? Or why do you think that we've made this connection? I'd like to really get to know you. You can even ask it if there's any spirits or entities living inside your crystal. I'll do another video about that someday too. Yeah, sometimes we have living beings inside our crystals. Crystals, you know, already have a consciousness and energy and stuff, but sometimes they even have beings that like to kind of, you know, make a home in your crystal. So you can talk to your crystal and see what kind of answers you get. And another kind of weird thing to do is you can put it near your ears to see if you want to hear with your physical ears, or you can place it on your throat chakra for communication, to aid in communication. No matter what it is, you can try doing that by your ear or by your throat. You can also place it on your heart to get to know your crystal on an emotional level. And you can meditate with it in your left hand, even if your left hand is not your receiving hand. It is the hand that's connected to the heart. So when you meditate with it in your left hand, you're establishing a connection to the heart. Something that I like to do is I hold it in my left hand and hold it over my heart. I think it's a really good way to get to know your crystal through your heart chakra, because you want, you know, you're sending love, and that's a really good place to get to know somebody, isn't it? Through the heart. So you can do that, you can do the throat, you can do by the ear. So different ways to talk to your crystal. Now, you may not sense the energy of the crystal. Another video on that, link below. Just because you don't feel any energy doesn't mean that it is not working with you. Okay, just because you don't feel it doesn't mean it doesn't have it. It just means you don't feel it. Okay. Pay attention to any kinds of images you might get. You might start working with a crystal and you might bring it home, carry it with you, meditate with you, or meditate with it. You might put it under your pillow, whatever the case may be. You may start having different visions and images or sensations, or sudden knowing. You just all of a sudden know something. You're like, how do I know that? Well, it could be your crystal, right? Could be raising your vibration. Could be telling you things. Crystals are pretty cool that way. So pay attention to all of that kind of stuff. Sights, smells, sounds, things of that nature. And respect the crystal. I think it's really important to respect and honor your crystal and not just throw it around, you know, never to be seen again, collecting dust. Are you a crystal hoarder? Do you have a whole lot of crystals that you never use? A lot of people do. I probably do too. But I'm actually pretty good about that. I have a lot of tumbled stones, smaller ones, really not much bigger than this. I have a bunch of just ones that I like to hold. I don't have a whole lot of fancy schmancy ones. Like you won't really see in my videos, you won't see, you know, big cathedrals and things like that. I don't really have them. One, I can't afford it. And two, I don't even know what I would really do with it, except have it looking beautiful in my space. And it, you know, they do cleanse your space and stuff too. But I like ones that I can actually work with. You know, even something like this, oh gosh, it's a beauty, but I think it's only going to be a grid crystal. I tried to meditate with it, but it's just so cumbersome. I can't really carry it and hold it and stuff. That doesn't really go on the third eye. So make sure that you're having crystals that you can actually work with in order to develop the relationship with the crystal. And you have to actually work with it. So if you have too many, maybe it's time to slow down. Work with the ones you have, okay? And meditate with it. That is like one of the best ways you can get to know your crystal, through meditation, when you are open to receiving information and sharing information. And also work with one crystal at a time. And I know we'd like to have them all out at once, you know. I get sick from that. Actually, by the time I'm done filming all these videos, because I'm doing a whole bunch of videos today, I'm probably going to feel really sick. And I'm going to need a lot of grounding. But, you know, it's important to really get to work with one at a time. If you want to know your crystal, if you really want to know what your crystal is going to do for you, and what the kind of relationship you're going to have with your crystal, how you should use it, when you should use it, what it's for in terms of you, then you need to work with one at a time. Because when you start mixing all the energies, you're not really sure. Okay, you can then start to work with them in combinations and test it out. But I really recommend you work with one at a time. And that's about it. You can also place a clear quartz in your other hand, okay, to amp up the energy so that you're, you know, able to communicate better and feel the energy more and get to know your crystal better. So that's really about it. I hope that helps. Take your time to work with your crystal, get to know it. Like I said, look at all the physical aspects of it, and then do your own research, do your own meditation. Oh, here's another thing. It doesn't happen overnight. I mean, occasionally you will have a crystal that just jumps out at you and you all of a sudden know. Occasionally that happens. So that happened with my Auralite 23 when I just held it for the first time and popped out of my body. All right, probably because it was such a different vibration, so new for me, that I just was able to pop right out. But that doesn't always happen. You have to take your time to get to know your crystals, especially like the agates. They're kind of slow and sluggish, you know. It takes time. Slow and steady wins the race. You have to take time. You don't develop a relationship overnight, right? You know, you don't get married for the most part. Some people do, and I'm not saying it's bad, but oftentimes we don't get married right away. You know, we get to know the person first, and it takes time to establish trust and understanding and how others communicate. So you want to get to know how your crystal communicates with you. Is it through sound? Is it through sensation? Is it through the vibration? Is, you know, how does your crystal communicate with you, and how are you going to communicate with your crystal? So take the time to really get to know your crystal before moving on to working with groups of crystals, and know that it does take some time. All right, be patient. And it may not be the right crystal for you right away. And just because you don't feel it doesn't mean that it's not working or you're not establishing a relationship. You may just not be open or receiving that information yet. That's another thing too, is when you do talk to your crystal or when you do meditate with your crystal, you know, let yourself be open to that. Say, you know, I want to receive the energy and information from this crystal. I want to establish a relationship with this crystal, and, you know, be open to that. And when you have barriers and blockades and, you know, brick walls and all this kind of stuff, it's kind of hard to establish a relationship. So you might want to break down some of those barriers so that you can get to know your crystal. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this useful. Hey, let me know in the comments below how you get to know your crystal. Do you have any other tips? I would love to hear from you. So thank you, and as always, guys, have a really blessed day. Bye.